TipRanks presents Tip Talks, the only podcast where you can listen to the insights, discover the trends, and power up your investment portfolio. Investors, welcome back to Tip Talks, a podcast brought to you by TipRanks. Of course, we are delivering through on all the market-leading resources that you need to make more profitable, wiser investment decisions. Now, last go-round, we were actually talking all about the Federal Reserve, interest rate hikes, what will come about from this upcoming FOMC meeting. Heading into this podcast today, today's episode, what I wanted to actually double down on is, of course, the Federal Reserve, because now we're even closer to that FOMC meeting date. Again, it's coming up on the 12th and the 13th. However, right now, we have to take a look at what's happening in the market because we came off of one heck of a month of November. Of course, we were really soaring high in the green. Then we entered into December here, and we actually tapped into red territory. So what exactly happened? And it really all does come back to the Federal Reserve decision. Perhaps they won't actually make that interest rate hike for us. We won't experience it, and we'll have actually been through this peaking, if you will, of interest rate hikes. That's really what we're seeing across the board is the overall sentiment that we think the Federal Reserve is done hiking rates. And that's, of course, what we all want. The real dilemma that we face is what happens if they actually do hike the rates? What's going to happen? And then, again, take two is what happens if they don't. Either which way, we have to be in the game of investing and continue to double down on investing because time in the market beats timing the market in and of itself. Well, I actually want to jump onto TipRanks and take a look at right now what some of the insiders are doing. Just before I put that on the screen here for all of you to take a look at with me, joining me at some of these insider sells, I want to just mention why insiders are selling. And of course, we have a lot of tech stocks that are actually overvalued. And with everybody concerned about interest rate hikes and what 2024 will look like, you can assume safely here that a lot of these insiders are actually taking some profits. So let's go ahead and dive into TipRanks here. The first stock I want to get to is, of course, everybody's favorite. It's Apple. And we have here on the screen that year to date, Apple is actually up 55+% on the year. If we do go over to this ownership tab here, scroll down, we're going to take a look at the latest insider sell, which actually comes from Chris Kondo, Apple's CAO. That was on December 1st, selling over $1 million worth of shares. Go back to November 20th here. We got a senior vice president selling over $23 million worth of sales. November 14th here, and we get just under $1 million there from, again, Chris Kondo, and another that's further back there on May 10th. But across the board here, we do have those insider sells happening at Apple. If we go over to Apple's competitor, if you will, Microsoft, we can see that Microsoft is up on the year, 56+%. Pretty solid, but we head over to the ownership tab to once again see a streak of sales that are happening here from the insiders. Most recent on November 14th from an executive vice president, the CCO here, over $4 million worth of shares. Now let's go to a really hot stock here. We have NVDA. I want to bring you over to NVIDIA because, of course, it has been soaring very high on the year, over 225+% up on the year. All looks good. Come to our ownership tab. And now we have here November 30th, the latest sale from the insiders, over $5 million here from a director, Dawn Hudson. November 28th here from Mark Stevens, another director, just about $5 million. And I want to bring you to one more hot tech stock here, and of course, that is Google. So we'll head over to Google's stock analysis page, up on the year by almost 50%. And again, heading into this ownership tab, more sales from the insiders, from the vice president CAO here. And then we move down, looks like to October 26th, we get the same insider, vice president CAO. All around, though, a lot of these insiders at these tech companies are selling, which really is going to make us now wonder and question, why are they selling now? And, of course, as they're taking those profits, well, what's the road ahead look like for all of us investors? And it could be choppier trading days. It could be an environment in which companies are going to be more stressed, which is very likely the case. As I mentioned, the question is, does the Federal Reserve hike interest rates? How does that impact us? And if the Federal Reserve does not hike interest rates, how does that impact us? Here's the irony of it all. Well, if you are investing into the stock market, and you have time in the market, which is exactly what you want. You just want to be investing into high quality, good companies. So is it time to sell the tech companies like the insiders? Is it time to pivot into more of the value plays? Well, that is the question now at hand for all of us. And it really, of course, depends. That's the answer. It depends. What is your timeline as an investor? Do you have time to have more time in the market here, say 2, 5, 10 years out? Or are you perhaps in retirement? You do need to trim because that might be the move to follow suit in what these insiders are doing if you don't have the time to stay invested. So investors, that's what's happening now. Make sure that you are well aware the Federal Reserve, as of right now, as of this recording, is in their blackout period. We might get some more volatility in the market with depending on the headlines that come out. Either which way, that means that you should not be afraid to invest. It means ultimately you should jump onto TipRanks, utilize all of our tools to make sure you are investing, as I first started off by saying, wisely during this economic environment that we're living in. And until next time, I will see you all in the next Tip Talk. TipRanks presents Tip Talks, the only podcast where you can listen to the insights, discover the trends, and power up your investment portfolio.